Do you ever feel like there's a gap between who you are and who you could be? Like you have so much untapped potential just waiting to be expressed? It can be frustrating, can't it? Well, you're not alone. In fact, one of the most influential psychologists of all time, Abraham Maslow, studied this very issue and came up with some fascinating ideas for solving it. See, back in the day, most psychologists focused on mental illness, but Maslow took a different approach. He focused on happiness and self-actualization. He studied the greatest individuals of his generation, people like Eleanor Roosevelt and Albert Einstein, and he coined the phrase the self-actualizing individual. According to Maslow, it's not just a desire to be our best selves, it's a need. Just like your lungs need oxygen to breathe, your mind needs self-actualization to thrive. Without it, you might not physically gasp for air, but you'll experience other painful symptoms like stress, anxiety, or even depression. If you want to feel truly fulfilled, you have to tap into your potential. So where do you start? Well, it's all about reflecting on what truly makes you come alive. Think about what you loved doing as a kid, what activities absorb you so much that you forget to eat and sleep. And if money wasn't an issue, what would you spend your time doing? These questions can help guide you towards your passions. Once you've identified what makes you come alive, it's all about taking consistent action. But here's the thing, you don't have to make a massive change overnight. Small, consistent steps in the right direction are more effective. Take that first tiny step and build the momentum necessary to carry you towards your goals. Now, self-actualization doesn't have to be solely about finding a more meaningful career. It's an individual process that can be applied to every aspect of your life. It could be about becoming a better parent, a great friend, or even pursuing a hobby you love. The key is to ask yourself, what must I be? According to Maslow, in any given moment, you have two options: to step forward into growth or to step back into safety. It's like a voting game. Every time you take a step forward, you cast a vote for self-actualization. And every time you retreat into safety, you cast a vote against it. Think about it. When you wake up in the morning, do you immediately get up or hit the snooze button? Going to the gym or staying at home watching TV? Pursuing an interest or ignoring it? Your everyday choices matter. Or they determine how fulfilled you feel. If your negative votes outweigh your positive ones, you'll likely experience stress and boredom. And in an attempt to alleviate those feelings, you might turn to comfort foods, alcohol, or mindless TV. But if your positive votes outweigh the negative ones, you'll experience true happiness and contentment. Your positive actions will spiral upward, propelling you further towards self-actualization. So, if you want to feel fulfilled, you need to keep stepping forward into growth. Every moment is a chance to cast a positive vote. Pay attention to your choices because they shape your level of fulfillment. Make it a game. Challenge yourself to cast as many positive votes as you can. Over time, these small self-actualization actions will add up, and you'll start to feel energized, excited, and truly fulfilled. I hope this video has inspired you to tap into your potential and start stepping forward into growth. Remember, as Maslow said, if you deliberately place on being less than you are capable of being, then I warn you that you'll be unhappy for the rest of your life. So don't be afraid of mistakes. Plunge in and do your best, knowing that you can learn from blunders and correct them along the way. Before we part ways, I encourage you to cast a positive vote right now. And as you go about your day, remember that every new situation is an opportunity for growth. Make a game out of casting as many positive votes as possible. Before you know it, all those small actions will lead you to self-actualization. Your mind will receive the oxygen it craves, and you'll feel fulfilled, energized, and excited about life. Now, go out there and start living up to your full potential. And if you found this video valuable, consider leaving a tip proportional to the value you received. The link can be found in the description below. Until next time, keep stepping forward into growth. When Pablo Picasso was an old man sitting in a cafe, he scribbled on a napkin. Little did he know, a woman sitting nearby was in awe of his talent. After a couple of minutes, Picasso finished his coffee, crumpled up the napkin, and was about to throw it away. But the woman stopped him and offered to buy it. Surprised, she asked, "Can I have that napkin? I'll pay you for it." Picasso replied, "Sure, that will be $20,000. The woman was stunned, exclaiming, "What? It only took you 2 miles to draw that?" To which Picasso replied, "No, ma'am. It took me over 60 years to draw this." You see, Picasso had spent decades honing his craft, becoming a masterful artist. His net worth at the time of his passing was around $500 million. And his art had become famous worldwide. His exceptional output included approximately 50,000 artworks, including paintings, drawings, sculptures, ceramics, prints, tapestries, and rugs. Picasso's success was a result of consistent practice and dedication to high-S craft. He reached a point where he could charge $20,000 for a 2-minute napkin scribble. The lesson here is that mastery takes time. To become truly good at something, we must be willing to make mistakes without losing momentum or giving up. It's crucial to be comfortable with failing, as it is through failures that we learn and grow. As children, we didn't hesitate to learn to walk. We didn't care about the results of each attempt. We kept trying. We stood up, took a step, fell, hurt ourselves, maybe even cried. But we tried again. Giving up was never an option. However, as we grow older, we become afraid of failure. We learn that failing is embarrassing and that others might judge or mock us for it. Consequently, we tend to stick to what we already excel at. The problem with this mindset is that it limits our potential. When we avoid failure, every unsuccessful attempt sends a signal to stop trying. While staying in our comfort zone may feel safe, it prevents us from reaching our highest potential. To become great at something, we must be willing to fail repeatedly. Success demands failure. Therefore, we need to take action despite our fear of failure. In Stoic philosophy, there's a concept called the sphere of choice. It emphasizes focusing on internal things that we can control, our character, values, and behavior, rather than external things that we can't control, the past, natural world, and others' thoughts and actions. By embracing the sphere of choice, we can actively deal with our fear of failure. For example, when I sit down to write, fearful and critical thoughts often flood my mind. Thoughts like, "Who do you think you are? Nobody will want to read this. Your writing is dull. You don't have anything to say." But I've come to realize that I am not my thoughts, I am the one who hears them. Therefore, my thoughts belong in the external category, beyond my control. On the other hand, my writing is something I can control. So no matter what negative thoughts arise, I keep typing until I meet my writing goal for the day. Another challenge many creators face is the fear of negative feedback. Positive feedback feels great, but negative feedback can be discouraging. However, to excel at what we do, we mustn't care about other people's opinions. We can't seek the approval of everyone, because that's simply not possible. So going forward, when you experience a fear of failure, remember the sphere of choice. If your concern is about something external, practice letting it go. Worrying about things beyond your control is a waste of time. If your concern is internal, let it trigger action. Stop thinking and start doing. Be like a child learning to walk, unafraid of how it looks or what others think. Fail without concern and then try again. Measure your success by your ability to show up and do the work, regardless of mistakes. Just like Picasso was willing to create 50,000 artworks to build his legacy, what are you willing to do? In the late 1960s and early 1970s, psychologist Walter Mischel conducted a groundbreaking experiment on self-control in children. The experiment involved offering preschoolers a plate of treats, such as marshmallows, and giving them a choice. They could either wait for a few minutes and receive 2 marshmallows, or they could ring a bell and immediately have the marshmallow in front of them. The purpose of the experiment wasn't just to observe the children's strategies for resisting the marshmallow. It was to gain insights into self-control and its impact on success later in life. And the results were fascinating. When Mischel followed up with the participants in their teens, he discovered that those who had waited longer to eat the marshmallow performed better in school, had better planning skills, handled stress better, and had higher levels of self-control. This experiment laid the groundwork for understanding the habits and behaviors of successful people. It revealed that the ability to delay gratification, to do what others don't like to do, is a key factor in achieving success. Successful people understand that in order to accomplish what most people can't, they must be willing to do what most people aren't willing to do. They are willing to endure the discomfort and challenges in the present so that they can enjoy the rewards later in life. Albert E.N. Gray, an insurance industry executive, also recognized this pattern of behavior among successful individuals. Through years of research and empirical study, he discovered that the secret of success lies in forming the habit of doing things that failures don't like to do. Successful people are willing to go the extra mile, to push through obstacles, and to take on tasks that others find tedious or challenging. Randy Pausch, a professor of computer science, shared a powerful message in his lecture titled "The Last Lecture: Really Achieving Your Childhood Dreams." He spoke about the significance of brick walls in our lives. Pausch emphasized that brick walls are not meant to keep us out, but rather to give us an opportunity to prove how much we truly desire something. The brick walls serve the purpose of separating those who are willing to do what it takes from those who are not. When faced with discomfort, obstacles, or tasks we may not enjoy, we have a choice. We can view them as burdens or as opportunities to demonstrate our determination and commitment. Every challenge we overcome, every task we complete, and every habit we develop is a step towards success, so take a moment to reflect on your own life. What are you resisting? What tasks or projects have you been putting off? Which habits do you need to start developing? This is your chance to do what successful people do differently, to tear down those brick walls and overcome the challenges in your path. Each wall you conquer will make you stronger, more confident, and closer to achieving your goals. So, what will be your first brick wall to tear down? Visibly distraught, the young woman lamented. I tried and I failed. What do I do now? The old man fell silent. He stood up and leaned over the bench to pluck a white flower from the garden floor. He sat back down, gently fiddling with its petals. He looked at her and said, All that matters, love, is that you were brave enough to try. He paused to stretch his arm out and handed her the flower. You won't understand this now, but in 20 years you'll be so glad you did. Ronnie Ware, an Australian nurse, spent a number of years caring for patients nearing the end of their time on Earth. When she questioned her patients about any regrets they had or anything they would have done differently, 5 common themes surfaced again and again. Years later, in her book, she identified the top 5 regrets of the dying. They are 1. I wish I hadn't worked so much. 2. I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. 3. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. 4. I wish that I had let myself be happy. 5. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. This last regret is the most common one, noted Bronnie. Most people had not honored even half of their dreams and had to die knowing that it was due to choices they had made or not made. Facing their own mortality, realizing that their life is on the verge of its expiry, they looked back and thought, how many of my dreams have gone unfulfilled? In the future, we will regret the actions we didn't take, more so than the ones we did. We will regret the book we didn't try to write, but had we done so, we would have fulfilled our dream of becoming a writer. We will regret the side project we didn't find the courage to pursue, but had we done so, it could have perhaps transformed into a thriving and successful business. In their research on regret published in 1995, Gilovich and Medvik concluded that when people look back on their lives, it is the things they have not done that generate the greatest regret. People's actions may be troublesome initially, but it is their inactions that plague them the most, with long-term feelings of regret. In short, today's inactions will translate into tomorrow's regrets. What you're too afraid to do today, 20 years from now, you'll most probably wish you had done. Don't let that happen. Choose to live a life that's true to you, and what does that entail? It's a life lived fully without fear. It's a life lived with purpose, without hesitation. It's a life where you find courage within you to follow your calling and dare to give it all your energy. It's a life where you create your own definition of success. It's a life lived with meaning and purpose, where your priorities are to work in balance, where you fully express your true feelings, where you stay in touch with the people you love, and where you allow yourself to be happy with how things progress. It's a life where, through the unfolding years, you don't say, I wish I had. Instead, you say, I am glad I did. I am glad I wrote that book. It didn't generate many sales, but it set me on a path to write my second book, and that was a bestseller. I am glad I launched my own clothing line. It took 3 years of sacrifice and hard work, but today, 5 years later, I am living my dream. I wish I had versus I am glad I did. These 4 words will be the difference between a life well lived and a life filled with regret. Perhaps we won't understand it now, but as per Mark Twain's words, 20 years from now you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones that you did do. This is what I remind myself when I struggle as an entrepreneur. This is what I remind myself when I struggle as a writer. I don't know the outcome, but I'll keep on trying, because in 20 years, while others say, I wish I did, I'll look back and proudly say, I am glad I did. So ask yourself this question: in 20 years, what will I regret?